It wasn't too hard coming up with a list of things that have changed my life because there's still things that I do to this day and I constantly work towards and I think about a lot. Maybe not every day, but a lot. Without further ado, believing in religion and God, that really guides your path and it also gives you this internal happiness and this feeling that no matter what, I will be fine. I will be okay. There's nothing that can truly destroy me. And from that, I would consider this very close to just believing in God and religion, but having that mentality of being not only optimistic, but also, what's the word? Stoicism, not attaching emotion to events. And as I've said before, I've already given this story of the Taoist farmer, but I'll give it again. No, I won't. You can search it up, but it's basically the idea is Taoist farmer has something bad happen to him. And he says, maybe it might be bad. And then it actually turns out that the original event was actually good. And then the farmer says, maybe. And then it turns out that that good event was actually bad. And then the farmer says, maybe. And then that bad event turns actually out to be good. And then he says, maybe, and then bad, and then good. And it continues flip flopping. And the end of the story ends with it being good, but it could have actually been bad. So his emotion was static, but the perspective of the reader or the Western culture, the Western thinking would be the story was actually going good and bad the entire time. But that's not the case. If you are more objective about things and stoic is what I the way that I describe it. Just don't attach emotion to things and you'll see your life it really changes and you rarely get mad after that or sad. Also from this seeing death as not a bad thing. I mean, killing is bad, but accepting death and seeing that death isn't something that is evil. Now, okay, this is going to be a big discrepancy between literally death and then now I'm going to talk about my Kobo. So the Kobo that I have is a Forma 2, Libra Forma. I think it's a Forma 2. So decent display size. I can show it here. Decent display size. Fits in my hand pretty easily and I can just scroll the page pretty easily too. These are the buttons to scroll the page. And I can download books from my computer. And you can also download it to Google Drive and just upload it. Or, sorry, upload it to Google Drive. And then from your Kobo can access Google Drive and you can just download it from there. That's super convenient. So that's really nice as well. And it's just nice because it also has a blue light filter. So I can turn off all the lights in my room and then I can just have it at 1% light and it has the blue light filter on top of that. And then I have my blue light glasses if I need it, which I just wear them just because I might as well. And I get to read right before going to sleep. And I find that it helps me go to sleep since it's just a routine and it just helps. It gets my mind off of other things that happen throughout the day. It's a bit soothing, but you also shouldn't choose something that's very emotionally charged as a book. So probably don't choose something like Roe v. Wade as your book before you go to sleep, but something like stories. I generally read fiction stories. Or even nonfiction. Nonfiction is also good because when you learn things, you actually get tired. As you learn things, it's cognitively demanding, and so it fatigues you. And I use that to my advantage sometimes. So I read something very dense, very informative, and then it makes me tired. I've noticed it makes me a little bit tired. Maybe it's placebo as well, but since it's backed up by science, I can be more confident in giving this advice. Next point, seeing videos as an addiction and moving forward with my life. For a long time, I didn't see video games as an addiction. I just thought of it as, how am I going to fill up my space of boredom? Because I don't feel like doing anything right now. What am I going to do? Just sit in my chair? No. Like what do I have to do? And this is especially in summers. There is nothing to do, at least I thought. And so I just filled my time with video games, and I enjoyed video games. It's a lot of fun. So win-win. I get to use up that boredom, or I get to fill that boredom with something fun, and I'm winning. I don't know how else to put. It's not really a win-win. It's just a win. But I no longer see it that way. I see video games as more damaging than I originally considered, especially since I was so dependent on them. All I would do for weeks even is just video games. I wouldn't even vacuum or do my chores. I just do video games, video games, video games. And I would maybe even have to play piano, practice piano. And I'd just play video games or study. I could get even higher. Not really. I did pretty decent in school, very well in school. So I didn't need to study much, fortunately. Or maybe unfortunately. Who knows? Maybe. But that meant that I had more time for video games. And all of these compounded to me just being addicted to video games, basically. I don't know if I'd still say it's a full-on addiction, but treating it as an addiction is a much healthier approach since you assign it the respect, the damage that an addiction could have on you. You assign a danger to it. It makes it more obvious that it's a danger. And so now, whenever I think of doing video games, I think of how productive I could be instead if I didn't do those video games. How I could move my life forward towards my purpose, towards what I'm actually trying to complete in life, towards being a better partner, towards being a better person just in general, to being more faithful in any other aspect. And if I were to go play these video games, I wouldn't be improving myself. And there's also times where I still play video games, but I acknowledge it's not for productivity. It's just for relaxing, and I just feel like playing video games. I'm going to relax a little bit, but this is not my main objective. This is not something that I want to keep on doing, especially for the rest of my life. I want to reach a point where, and I have reached points where I basically didn't even play video games. There would be weeks or even a month where I haven't played any video games. 0 hours on Steam past 2 weeks. I like that feeling. But now I don't even track my Steam hours, and I'm very confident I'm doing very well because I rarely play video games now. I'm just so occupied with all my other endeavors like vlogging or coding and learning other things, surfing the web. I mean, surfing the web, you could consider that an addiction as well, but I think it's much better, I think. It's much better since you're rather learning something, and although you're not being completely productive, you're not playing video games. You're not rotting your brain away, not thinking at all. Okay, next point. Ordering off of Temu. So I don't know if this really changed my life. I would actually no, I think it kind of did. So I would order off of Amazon. In fact, this ring I ordered off of Amazon. A lot of things I order off of Amazon and still, but the distinction that I make is there's there's quite a few things off of Amazon that are literally just copy and pasted from Temu or from AliExpress. And AliExpress I used at times, but very rarely. I didn't consider AliExpress my main online shopping center. And then I realized actually you can buy a lot of things from Amazon off of AliExpress. In fact, they're the same brand. They're just under different names because they want to circumvent some sort of lawsuit. I can't there's a reason they have some very strange names on Amazon and I can't remember why that is, but it has something to do with Amazon being able to what is it? Like getting around copyright strikes. Or not copyright, but like patents. Yes, getting around patents. So Chinese companies can basically just copy a legitimate product and use that and basically keep on changing their name and selling the product until they get strike down and then they can just make a new one and then they can just keep on doing that. So rather than pay a ridiculous margin profit for that company, going to pay I'm going to pay its actual price. And you'll be surprised by how many products you can actually order off of AliExpress or Temu. And the other thing too is Temu is actually cheaper than AliExpress. Basically on any product. But now if you can't find the product, so if you can't find the product on Temu, then you buy it off of AliExpress. I've only found that for one product, which is a fragrance sprayer dispenser. And I like this dispensers where you can pump it in from the bottom. So you don't have to completely unscrew the mini sample spray dispenser. You can just have it completely enclosed already and then just pump it, like fill it up by pumping it in from the bottom. It has a little slit in the bottom where you can just fill in the liquid without having to disassemble the sprayer, as I said. And the other thing too I'll mention about Temu is you don't actually have to get the app. You should not get the app. I actually checked this yesterday. The deals, so sometimes the website will say that you should get the deals on the app are better than on the site, but it turns out that when you get the app and you spin the wheel or do whatever, get all these coupons, you have to buy something that they want you to buy. So let's say you get all the things that you want to, and you get them crazy cheap, or you even get them for free. Then you have to buy this, we'll say, this towel. You have to buy this towel, and this towel is like $40. Or you have to buy this hammer, and this hammer is like $30. And you have to buy 3 of them or something. And it ends up being that, yeah, you got one item for free. Normally it would have been $13. You got that item for free, but you got this other item that was normally supposed to be like, what, $10? And you had to pay $20 extra? So now it evens out the cost, basically. I don't think my math was correct there, but what I'm trying to explain is that it ends up evening out the cost and you don't get any profit from that. You don't make any money. You don't pay less. It's not cheaper off of the app than it is on the site. So you might as well just order off of the site. And the other thing with the app is there's a lot of data and privacy concerns. So just don't go for the app. Just order off of the site. Even on my phone, I just go on the site and order from there. Okay, so next point I would say is the toilet stool. So recently, off of Temu, I got a toilet stool, which it should be fairly self-explanatory. It's basically a stool that elevates your legs so that you're in a better crouching position, which is naturally supported for your biology, and it just makes it more comfortable using the washroom. Now, okay, well, not just makes it more comfortable. It's a little uncomfortable, if anything, but it makes it more natural for your body to release the fluids. That's all I'll say about that. But I highly recommend it. I mean, if I put it in my change my life video, my change my life vlog, it's something that you should at least consider. And as I said, highly recommend it. I would say it changed my life. Yeah, as stupid as that sounds. Okay, so next point. I've talked about this yesterday. Having a sleep accountability partner, being able to knock on your door and tell you you have to go to sleep at this time, reminding you. And the thing is, you can have an alarm on your phone, but you can choose to easily ignore that. If you ask someone to say, hey, make me sleep at this time, I don't care what you have to do. I have to be sleeping by this time, or at least in bed, or getting ready to go to sleep. It will work. And the thing is, you just have to want it. Okay, next point. Sleep mask, earplugs, blackout curtains. So with this, I like optimizing my sleep. One of the things that I'm most serious about is sleep. I know it's just incredibly important for any human. So when I originally didn't have blackout curtains, I mean, right now I don't have blackout curtains. I have this cardboard that blocks out the light. And so it perfectly fills the window. It's a cardboard that has the dimensions of the window. So I put that cardboard on my window before I go to sleep, and then I close the curtains because there's some light that seeps in through the edges of the cardboard because it doesn't perfectly fit the dimensions. And that works fantastically. I don't even need a sleep mask. But back when I didn't have that cardboard thing, or even I had blackout curtains, I still used a sleep mask. And the sleep mask that I used, it was like a foam. I still have it actually, and I can link it below as well. But it completely blocked out all light, and it was fantastic. Even if I had my curtains open, it would still block out the light. It was that blackout. It was an incredible sleep mask. It is an incredible sleep mask, but I don't need it anymore since I have blackout curtains. But if I ever go back to my home, even generally having a sleep mask, even like a silk sleep mask, a silk sleep mask is a bit nicer because it's nicer on the skin, but this other sleep mask was, I don't know the name, the material, maybe it was like carpet almost. I don't know how to describe it, but it wasn't uncomfortable. I think the only downside with sleep masks is that it heats up your eyes, and so it might be more apparent. The bags under your eyes might be more apparent, but I've researched it and it doesn't seem to be the case. But maybe that's just my own experience. Earplugs, so in case it gets loud. Sometimes you just can't control the outside environment. Maybe you have upstairs neighbors too. Earplugs have saved me so much. I used to use them all the time last year since I was in a different house and my roommates would go to sleep at very late times. I mean, not that I didn't go to sleep at very late times, but they would go even later, or they would wake up early and they'd make a lot of noise in the kitchen. Even though my door was closed, I could still hear it. And I would say I'm more on the sensitive side as a sleeper. Maybe like moderate. But noises still bug me, and especially when I'm about to fall asleep, I would like it to be complete silence, and that should be the same for anyone. So just having those sleep plugs, and they're basically just swimmer earplugs. I can actually link that down below as well. Those have helped me a lot. And they're super cheap off of Temu too. You can get a pack of 10 for like what? Pack of 10? You can get a pack of Yeah, you can get a pack of 10 for like less than $1 or like $1. It's an incredible purchase. And then blackout curtains as well. If you want to invest in blackout curtains, that'd be a good idea as well. Mhm. Or this cardboard thing that perfectly fits my window. You could also do something like that. Have cardboard that fills up your window and just put it up every night. I recommend the cardboard actually. I think it works out better than the blackout curtains because I have both and the cardboard just works incredibly well. Okay, next one. Satin pillow sheets. I got these really recently. I wouldn't say they've changed my life, but they've made a noticeable improvement in my sleep. And what I mean by that, these ones I also ordered off of Temu. Okay, but the satin pillows, they're basically silk material, but they're not as expensive. Okay, so I can order more satin than I would order like one silk. Now, ideally, I think I'll upgrade to actual silk just because I care about my sleep that much. And even if it increases my sleep performance by 1%, I'll still take it. And the cost is negligible to me since sleep is so important to me. Okay, but these satin pillowcases, or pillow sheets, as I was saying, pillow covers, they're very slippery and they're silky. That's the texture. And so they're very comfortable to lay your head on. And what I've found in cotton is that my face will heat up and it'll be difficult for me to fall asleep. So I'll have to get up, sit and read, and then I can go back to sleep or try to go back to sleep. But with these, it feels like it's cooler than it would be if it was cotton, and they're just more comfortable. They're just more comfortable than cotton. I don't know how else to describe it, but I would recommend these as well. Satin pillow sheets, and they're not expensive at all. I got one for $4, $3. Not expensive at all. I would recommend them. Knee pillow. I would say, okay, I don't know if this really changed my life, but I would still put it under changed my life since it just it makes it more comfortable sleeping. One of the biggest, yeah, if you're a side sleeper, I would recommend being a side sleeper since that has been shown to be the most how can I describe it? The best way to sleep, the best position to sleep on your left side specifically, sleeping on your left side since it's you don't get acid reflux. The way your stomach is shaped, you're much less likely to have acid reflux rather than if you sat on your right or you slept on your right side where the stomach doesn't the gravity doesn't facilitates more of an acid reflux. So knee pillow, as I said, is just nice to have because your legs don't smack together and you end up creating this V shape which is just uncomfortable. It's just more comfortable and it feels nicer. I was even thinking of getting a body pillow, as funny as that sounds, but to have my knees not clanging together, if that doesn't really, clanging isn't what the sound that knees make, but so my knees don't smack together and my ankles don't hit together either. And it's bone on bone too, so it's really not pleasant, and I doubt it's good for you either. I mean, I doubt it's seriously harmful for you, but it's just uncomfortable. And so having a body pillow where I could put one pillow under my knees or between my knees and between my ankles rather than having a pillow for my knees and then another pillow for my ankles. And the other thing too is this knee pillow, it compresses overnight. So at the end of the night, the knee pillow ends up being really squished together. And so my knees are basically touching at that point. So it doesn't help too much. But at the start of the night, it's very comfortable since they're completely spread out. And it is foam. So what can I expect? I guess maybe I should have ordered a different material. But you live and you learn. Knee pillow. Okay, so next one is an attitude, being more assertive. I think this has helped. This has helped me. this is something that I'm still working on. Of course, as you can see, I say I think still, and I still show signs of not being assertive, but just generally trying to improve my assertiveness, being more assertiveness, aiming towards that. Other people acknowledge that and they move out of the way for you. So if you want to host something, and it's almost freeing as well, because if you want to do something, you do it. And people can come along on the ride. People can join you, but you're going to do it no matter what. And you don't have to rely on someone to do it. So just being more assertive, and people like that too. People generally appreciate someone who's more assertive and able to guide them, to lead them. Just being a leader. Okay. Next one, barefoot shoes. Barefoot shoes have helped me so much. I really like barefoot shoes. I'm a barefoot shoes main. Oh man, they're so fantastic. So I watched a YouTube video that went over how the modern shoes that we have, designer shoes, they actually put our feet in really uncomfortable positions. And after watching that video, I realized just how absurd the shoe market is. I mean, you look at shoes and they are not shaped like a foot. They're absurd. They're absurd and they crush your feet. And we're okay with that because that's normal and that's what the shoe market is all about. So I'm not going to complain because it's not something that people really think about. But if you point it out, people will realize, and it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't be damaging my feet for no reason. Or for fashion. If that's your reason for fashion, I shouldn't be damaging my feet for fashion either. So that was a wake-up call, and then I looked in barefoot shoes, and I bought a cheap pair of barefoot shoes off of Amazon, which I probably could have just bought off of Temu, but I didn't occur to me at the time, and I could have. I don't think Temu was much of a thing, but I could have ordered off of AliExpress. But again, I didn't think of ordering things off of Temu and AliExpress at that time. Okay, so I ordered it off of Amazon. It was still decently cheap. I would say $40. Yes, it was $40, which is actually pretty expensive for barefoot shoes, you'd think, because barefoot shoes, what do you need? You don't even need a sole. You don't need cushion. You just need the shoe, and that's it. So it should be way cheaper than 40, right? Okay, whatever. So I got these, and I love them. The brand name was Witten. I can also link these down below as well. But I highly recommend them, and I still use them to this day. The only downside is they're incredibly airy, so if it's a cold day, your feet will actually get cold, and usually my feet never get cold outside, but with these shoes, your feet will get cold. If it's winter especially, your feet will get cold because it cools from the bottom, like the snow will pass through the sole. I mean, like the cold of the snow will pass through the sole, so your feet will feel cold. That's really the only downside though. I mean, you feel the cracks and everything, but that's good. You're improving your foot health. I would recommend watching the video and you'll understand more my perspective on why I think barefoot shoes are a good addition to your life and why they have changed my life. Okay. Now, moving on to books. Oh no, I'm already at 30 minutes, but I think I'm doing good for a video about how my life has changed. or changing my life. What has changed my life? Okay, so now talking about books, the books that I would recommend, no, not even recommend, but also have just changed my life are The Game I read most recently, The Game by Neil Strauss. It was talking about pickup artistry, and there was ideas of manipulation and how to manipulate women into being into a short-term relationship or seeing you as better than you actually were. But from that, you learn more on women's perspective on why they see how they see value in a man, and also how you can actually be that man that they pretend to be, and realizing other things about the maturity of women, why it is actually harmful. Like, you don't necessarily want to be that man that they completely idealize, because that man isn't a real icon. He isn't real. And in fact, he might even be harmful to her, even though she wants him. She doesn't. She would. It would actually. That man would actually be harmful. So she thinks she wants him, but she doesn't actually want him, is the way I'd put it. There's some other insights as well. I mean, just it opened my eyes to just being more interesting, and not only building up relationships with girls, but also building up relationships with new people, and friendships, just being more interesting, encouraging people to join you. Next book, Glucose Revolution. This talks about eating greens, basically eating vegetables, eating greens before anything sweet, and ideally reducing the sweetness intake. But the idea is that you don't actually need any diet for food. You just need to limit your glucose spike. And you could say glucose spike is completely normal, but to the extent that we have it in the modern day, no way. I mean, look at how much sugar is in Lucky Charms or literally any cereal, and tell me that's normal. But it's absurd how much sugar is just everywhere, and the amount of glucose spikes you're going to be getting throughout the day, and people, there's consequences to that. And she says one of the symptoms is having naps throughout the day, just being really tired. And I've felt those symptoms. She goes on to list other symptoms as well, like poor sleep, other things like that. So it's just generally healthy to have a lower glucose spike. So she doesn't advocate for a diet. She advocates for just switching the order in which you eat things. And the main takeaway from that book is just eating vegetables before eating anything seriously glucose spiking. So like sugar. Just eat, I don't know, celery right before a stalk of celery. Just one branch of celery before eating chocolate, for example. And I believe that works. Now, I think it's still being studied, but as someone an expert in her field, I trust in her advice. And there's no downside in switching the orders of what I eat. So I might as well. Next book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This one definitely has changed my life. This is the art of negotiation, being able to negotiate with anyone. Chris Voss was a hostage negotiator for the FBI. Yes, for the FBI. And he needed to get his way of things. He couldn't compromise on anything. He was a hostage negotiator. He needed his way. So he outlines throughout the book a bunch of different ways of not splitting the difference, of persuasion, and also being firm and assertive of your price, of what you want and getting that, being able to get that. And I always want to work towards this, just getting better. There's so many situations in your life where you're going to be negotiating. You're going to need to negotiate. Salary is the biggest one, I would think, but other things, just buying off of Facebook Marketplace, for example, or things that you wouldn't expect to, like sometimes buying at a regular store, you can negotiate the price. You wouldn't think you can, but you can negotiate the price. Sometimes. This is store dependent, of course. Actually, it'd be interesting to see how far you could go. Anyways, next book, How to Make Friends and Influence People. This one was very intuitive to me. I've already learned that information prior, and I don't think I've actually finished the book yet, but most of the information that I've already read from that book was very intuitive, that I've already learned beforehand through advice, maybe even YouTube, honestly. But it's generally just a guide of how to be more charismatic and how to get people to like you, which I think is very important. The biggest takeaway that I have from this book is being able to let people speak, just listening to people instead of saying things. People find that people think you're a better listener. No, sorry, a better speaker, even if you don't say anything. You're nice to be around, even if you don't say anything, and you let people speak, and you just... Now, I think there's also a distinction between just listening. I've already said this as well, but just listening and acknowledging that you're listening, proving to the person that you're listening intently. So nodding your head every once in a while and saying, yeah, I agree with that. Subtle things like that. But that's really all you have to add in. And the core focus is just listening to what that person is saying and being genuinely inquisitive and curious about the other person. And people will really appreciate that. So I don't know if this really changed my life. This book really changed my life, but I will put it in here just because I really like this book. Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters. I forget who it's by, but that's the title. Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters. It goes over evolutionary psychology. Just quick facts. It's not very dense at all. Very, very light, I'd say. And it just basically tells you a bunch of quick facts of why we are the way we are, why our behaviors are this way. The next book, Spoonfed by Tim Spector. So this goes off of diet advice. And funny enough, he actually advocates for not really listening to diet advice. So the title of the book is Why Almost Everything... Let me see here. Why almost everything we've been told about food is wrong. There's so much misconception within the food industry, and I didn't realize that food was such a profitable market. Advertising food and just selling food. So he talks a lot about the misconceptions and how big food is actually a thing, and there's serious misinformation being spread. Disinformation being spread? I can't remember the difference. Either way, they intentionally misrepresent their labels of being healthy. Just so many deceptive practices that the food industry does. And using your own intuition, even if studies say something is bad. I mean, we had a study that said cigarettes were healthy. And we also had a study that said meat was equivalent to smoking cigarettes. Eating meat was equivalent to smoking cigarettes. So I would say you can't trust studies. And this isn't just in food. don't, just because a study says something, this has come to my mind. I've realized this much more now that I've been weightlifting. Just because a study says something is optimal, or says this is the best way to do it, or says this is harmful, does not mean it is harmful. Does not mean that is the truth. A lot of these studies are looking for publicity, looking for sensationalism, to provide more funding for new studies, for more studies, or for this university. And the way they get that is by selling publications. So be very careful on just believing studies, even though they seem reputable. And that's why we do so many replication studies, to confirm that these are actually the results that we are getting, that we can actually confirm this is true. And okay, lastly, I couldn't leave out the Bible. The Bible is life-changing book. Don't think I need to say much about that. If you don't know the Bible, check it out. Now, I'm going to move on to a list. Oh my God, I'm already at 41 minutes. Okay, so next list is can't live without these items. So I would say flux and blue light glasses are something that I can't really live without. I mean, can't live without is an exaggeration, of course, but flux is this application on my computer that makes it so that the blue light, it basically puts a massive blue light filter on my screen and everything appears orange instead of blue, which will disrupt my circadian rhythm. And similarly, blue light glasses will block out blue light, but they're not as effective as if there was no blue light in the first place, which is why I have flux as well. But ideally, you don't want any sort of light, even if the blue light is minimized, there's still going to be blue light. So ideally no light before bed, but that's very hard to do. And I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I can fully do that, especially since I have my Kobo. That's what I do before bed. But I can find habits like stretching before bed as well. Okay. Next one, this I'll link below. This, if you've stuck this far, I'm impressed. And I'll reward you for that because there has been a Spotify Premium free APK for Android users. So you can now use Spotify Premium for free. I just got it. It actually released yesterday. I have it and I've tested it and it works completely well. It's so fantastic. So I'll link it below, by Xmanager, and they teamed up with another group and they managed to patch Spotify. They managed to remove all the ads and get all the premium features except downloading. But who cares about downloading? That's all right by me. I just have Spotify Premium. So I'm really happy about that. And I can't live without, I mean, yeah, that'd be true. Okay. Metal water bottle, just having a decently sized metal water bottle that you can fill up. And the reason I say metal is because you don't really want a plastic water bottle, because I mean, you don't have to heed my advice too sternly, but the thing with plastics is you're going to get phthalates in your water. I mean, over time, the plastic is going to deteriorate. That's just a fact. And how is it going to deteriorate? Well, the water, it's going to leach into the water. That's just, like, you can't dispute that. That is definitely true. Now, you could dispute how harmful it is. You could say it's not harmful at all, but realistically, you think that drinking plastics over a long period of time is not going to harm you? I mean, who really knows at the end of the day? But might as well just be safe and just have a metal water bottle. I mean, this water bottle is basically all I use as a water bottle. So why would I ever need another plastic water bottle? And think of it as an investment too. Okay, next item is my ring, actually, that I have on today. My ring is just something that I fidget with, and I got it off of Amazon, and I realized that I could have actually ordered it off of AliExpress for less than a quarter of the price. Insane, absolutely insane. But I got it for like $20, and I think I could have gotten it for like $7. So not a quarter of the price, but very cheap compared to Amazon's ridiculously marked up price. And it's the exact same product too. So this ring I can't live without because I use it to fidget. And now if you want something, if you're fidgety like me, I would recommend getting a ring and learning how to do the Griffin roll, which is this thing right here that I can't do too well on my left hand, but I can do incredibly well on my right hand. And it's just nice to fidget around. You can just spin it around too. It doesn't even have to be one of those spinner rings. It can just be a regular ring, and I still fidget with it. And if I forget to bring it on one day, I'll realize it, and I'll like it'll make a difference. It'll be like, oh, this sucks. I forgot to bring it. Like it will make an impact on my day. Maybe not substantially, but it'll still make an impact. Okay. Lastly, cologne. I'm just a cologne enthusiast, so I had to include cologne. Okay, next list. This is the last list that I'll mention, and this is habits. So the habits that are improving me is being more social, being more comfortable with meeting new people, and being in unfamiliar situations, being able to talk to anyone, especially people that you'd be nervous in front of. So approaching girls has helped me just become more confident and realize that I can talk to anyone. I can be social with anyone. I don't care. Like I have that confidence now. And that's all thanks to being more social. And now with that confidence, I can speak speak more coherently in front of other people, in front of my friends, and portray myself as just being the best version of myself. Next habit is vlogs. These vlogs have helped me articulate my thoughts and be more precise and critical in my speech and critical in the way that I act and form my ideas. Just being able to form my ideas much more clearer. Being precise, being concise in my speech. Next one, stretching. I haven't stretched today, but I think I should. I can't guarantee that I will. Okay, but stretching is really important because, look at Brian Johnson, someone who's seriously concerned with longevity. He dedicates 30 minutes to stretching. Okay, like that should be a note to you that stretching is actually really important. If this person who is his full goal, his only purpose is to live as long as he possibly can, and he dedicates every day 30 minutes to stretching. So stretching is good for you. Surprise, surprise. So even just stretching a little bit, 15 minutes, and you feel good afterwards too. And you're just less stiff. It's good for the body. Last one, posture. This is something that I will continue to work on. I haven't perfected it. I still slouch sometimes, but every time I slouch, every time I catch myself, I fix my posture with my head as high as I can. So the idea is, and nobody's given me this advice, but I've realized in order to have the best posture, the tip to do that is to just try to be as tall as possible. And you'll notice that as you try to be as tall as possible, you'll end up having a good posture as a result. So even standing, just trying to have the tallest body, your back will be aligned well and your posture will just be very nice. And sitting as well. Sitting is the same thing. Just being as tall as you can. Trying to be as tall as you can. So that's what I'll have for posture. And also having your shoulders in line, just rather than forward, hunched forward, I don't think it's a massive problem. I don't think posture is something super serious, but it does affect the way people see you. So it is, even if there's no health downside of posture, having good posture has an impact on the way people see you. So it does have an impact on you. And that concludes my Change My Life vlog. I spent a bit of time making this, but I mean, what am I saying here? At this point, I can just end the video.